Lately, I've been seeing a lot of people online unwinding sweaters from thrift stores to reclaim the yarn, and I thought that is genius. I'm going to try it. So here is my process. So here I am at the thrift store, and I found a sweater that is 100% cotton and is stitched on all the seams. Make sure you're looking for these little stitch marks. You can see them running along all of the seams. You want that and not cut and serged. You'll need a seam ripper, a small pair of scissors, and your sweater. And I usually start by taking off all of the tags. I just rip along the seams very carefully and remove all of them. You can keep that tag actually so you remember what kind of fiber and what size sweater worth of yarn you have. So in looking for the seams, you're going to look for a small running line of stitches that look like little V's, and you're going to start at the rounded end of those little V's and cut that with your seam ripper. Then you're going to slowly remove the stitches, and eventually you'll end up finding a string like this. And you're just going to gently pull that string, and your seam will completely undo, separating your panels. I usually start at the top where the neckline is. So here I've removed it, and now I'm going to remove the sides of the collar, and continuing with that same process, all of these little attached pieces I'm going to separate and remove by pulling the string and separating each part. Eventually you're going to have a whole bunch of panels that look like this. You'll have sleeves, you'll have body, you'll have collar. Sometimes you'll have button bands. This one doesn't have buttons, but it does have some bands. So eventually you'll have all of them, and you can stack them up, and you'll have them ready for the next step. The next step is starting all of the edges of each panel to unravel. So usually they'll have like a running kind of chain or cast on across the top, and you'll have to do the same type of process as I'm showing you here with each top of every panel. And that's basically getting your working yarn started. Here I'm showing you all my panels, and here I am starting to get all of my panels started so you can unwind them on your machine. Every piece is started, and I'm going to go over to my yarn ball winder and get started on that. So there's not a lot to show you if you've used a ball winder before, but you're just going to take each panel and wind them into a ball. I just have it on like super mega speed right now just so you can see the process, but I'm going to do that for every panel and every piece, and eventually you'll have a stack of amazing yarn that you got for super cheap. If you don't have a ball winder, you can definitely roll this by hand. It's just going to take you a lot longer. Another option is if you have a hand mixer, put one beater in, put an empty toilet roll on that one beater, and very carefully you can also connect that to your yarn and unwind like that. Be careful if you do that because it's a little bit scary, but it's definitely doable. Another thing you can do with your yarn when it's all done is you can use a food scale, and you can measure out, what I do is I measure out 3 feet of my yarn, and I will weigh that on the food scale in grams. Let's just say it weighs, 3 grams. So that's approximately 3 grams a yard. So then you will weigh all of your finished yarn and divide that by the other number, and you can come up with approximately how many yards, and you'll know how many grams of yarn you have from that sweater. That's it. That's my process. It's pretty simple, honestly, and I will say the easiest fiber to use for this is 100% cotton. I just find that it unwinds so much easier, and it's easier to see each individual stitch. So it's easier to see where you're unwinding each panel. It's easier to see where the beginning and end of each panel and row are. So 100% cotton would be my recommendation to start at least. After that, you can definitely look for things like wool or other natural fibers.